does your wardrobe match where you're going or only where you've been?
Oh, that is a heavy question to start with.
I mean, if you just looked at your closet and felt a little pit in your stomach, you're definitely not alone. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a really fascinating look at the psychology of vision, alignment, and, well, surprisingly, what is actually hanging in your closet right now.
Yeah, and we really need to set the mission right from the top for everyone listening. This exploration is, it's not about fashion.
No, definitely not.
Right. We are not looking at runway trends. We aren't talking about, flexing on social media. And we certainly aren't interested in chasing whatever aesthetic is going viral this week.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. What we're actually digging into today is a profound psychological concept. The idea that your clothing is your identity in visible form. It is the literal physical manifestation of your internal standards.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because when we hear the words wardrobe or style, I feel like the brain just immediately jumps to superficial aesthetics.
Oh, absolutely. It's an automatic reflex.
Right. But the argument we are exploring today flips that entirely. It suggests that your wardrobe is doing one of two things to you every single day. It is either actively helping you step into your future self, or it is keeping you stubbornly attached to an old, outdated identity.
Yeah, it points out a very common trap that honestly most of us fall into without even realizing it. I mean, the vast majority of people build their wardrobes purely for their current comfort.
Guilty.
Right. We all do it. They prioritize what feels easy today, what requires the least amount of friction. But when you look at highly disciplined people, creators, leaders, they understand something fundamentally different about how the human brain processes self-image.
And what's that?
They understand that your appearance must reflect your direction, not your excuses.
Your direction, not your excuses.
Wow.
I love that phrasing. It really got me thinking about how we actually use our physical spaces. It's like we treat our closets as a museum exhibit of who we used to be, rather than a blueprint for who we want to be.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
You know, like we have the college era exhibit over in the corner, the first job I didn't really like exhibit, the I wore this when I was feeling uninspired exhibit. And we just sort of live inside that museum. How does walking into that museum every single morning actually affect our daily lives?
Well, to take your museum analogy a step further, think about what a museum actually does. It preserves things that are frozen in time.
Right.
When you live inside that space, it creates this profound internal disconnect. And this moves us right into the specific problem we all face, which the source material calls the trap of the random wardrobe.
The random wardrobe.
Exactly. Most people never intentionally choose the story that their clothes tell. They wake up, they look in the closet, and they dress based on three highly reactive variables: what is trending, what is convenient, or what is socially accepted by the people immediately around them.
Which, I mean, feels entirely harmless on the surface. You just grab the shirt that's on top of the pile. You grab the pants that are clean.
Right, the sniff test.
Yeah, exactly. In the moment, it just feels like you're being efficient, saving mental energy for the real work of the day.
It feels efficient, but psychologically it operates like a slow leak in a tire.
Oh, interesting.
Let's look at the internal conflict this creates for the listener. So suppose you have a clear, ambitious vision for your life. You want growth. You are building confidence, developing discipline, maybe stepping into a leadership role.
Right, you're leveling up.
Exactly. You have set these incredibly high internal standards for your mind and your work. But your presentation, the physical representation of yourself that you put out into the world, still reflects the old, comfortable, perhaps unmotivated version of yourself. Deep down, the brain registers when your outer life doesn't match your inner vision.
You definitely feel it. It's almost like a low-level static.
That static is subconscious friction. And what the research suggests is that this disconnect slowly, almost invisibly, drains your confidence. It chips away at your motivation and your self-image. Because it all comes down to a really basic psychological loop. Identity influences behavior, and behavior shapes your future.
Makes sense.
If your physical identity is confused or just random, your behavior becomes inconsistent to match it.
Okay, wait. I need to push back on this a little, or at least play devil's advocate for a second.
Sir, go for it.
So if I'm just throwing on whatever is convenient, because I am genuinely busy, like maybe I have back-to-back meetings, maybe I'm managing a team, I'm wrangling kids, and I just need to get out the door. Am I actually communicating my excuses to the world? I mean, Is a hoodie and sweatpants really communicating that much?
The underlying psychology argues a definitive yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and look, it's not about judging the hoodie itself, it's about the intention behind it. Before you even speak a single word, your presence is broadcasting data. People are processing your energy, your discipline, your confidence, and your attention to detail within fractions of a second.
Wow. Okay.
If you are throwing things on purely out of convenience, you are communicating that convenience is your highest operating standard. Randomness in dress equals randomness in representation. The challenge the source text poses here is really pointed. If you wouldn't let randomness dictate your finances, your business strategies, or your relationships, why would you let it dictate the very first impression you make on yourself and others?
Wow. That hits hard when you frame it around other areas of life.
Yeah.
Because you're right, if a CEO said, I just manage our budget based on whatever receipt I pull out of my pocket first, we'd think they were completely out of their mind.
Exactly.
But we let randomness dictate the physical boundary between us and the rest of the world. So if randomness creates this subconscious internal conflict, I assume the antidote must be intentional alignment.
Yes. That brings us to the core mechanism. If the problem is dressing for comfort and convenience in the present moment, the solution is dressing for the future self.
And this is where we get to what I think is honestly the most powerful mindset shift we are covering today. The idea is flat out, stop dressing for who you were. Start dressing for who you're becoming.
What's fascinating here is how it hinges on a proven psychological phenomenon, not just, a motivational quote you see on Instagram. We have to be really clear that dressing for who you are becoming is not about pretending. It is not that old cliche of fake it till you make it.
Right. It's not about going into massive credit card debt to buy a luxury designer suit to pretend you're a millionaire when you aren't. It's not a costume.
Far from it. It's about a concept called enclothed cognition.
Enclothed cognition.
Yes. This is an actual scientific term used by psychologists to describe how the clothes we wear influence our psychological processes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In classic studies, if you give a person a white coat and tell them it's a doctor's lab coat, their attention to detail and cognitive focus demonstrably increase. They actually perform better on tests.
Wait, really? Just from putting on a coat?
Just from the coat. And here's the kicker. If you give them the exact same coat, the exact same piece of fabric, but tell them it's a painter's smock, they don't get that cognitive boost.
That is wild.
It is. When your external image matches the internal standard of the person you want to be, your confidence inherently increases because you are signaling to your brain that you possess those traits. You physically feel sharper. When you dress with clarity, you move with clarity. Your actions become more consistent.
I think we've all experienced that, even accidentally. You put on an outfit that just perfectly aligns with how you want to feel that day. Maybe it's a really sharp blazer or even just a perfectly fitting high-quality T-shirt, and suddenly your posture is just better.
Yeah, exactly.
You speak a little more clearly. You don't slouch in your chair. Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's like the superhero cape effect.
Oh, I like that.
Like the clothes themselves don't possess any magic. A jacket is just fabric. A pair of shoes is just leather or canvas stitched together. They don't magically alter the universe, but they trigger a psychological reminder. They act as a physical cue to stay disciplined, to carry yourself with purpose, and to act like the person you want to be.
That physical cue is everything because your wardrobe is an environment you interact with every single day.
Every day.
Right. Think about the gravity of that frequency. Every single morning, you are making a choice, which means every outfit you put on is a binary event. It is either reinforcing your vision for your future or it is weakening it.
So there's no neutral territory.
None. Zero. These small daily signals compound. The clothes you wear remind you to stay focused. And importantly, high performers utilize this strategy not for external attention, but for internal alignment. It's not about fishing for compliments in the office. It is entirely a tool for you to hack your own focus and self-image.
Okay, so we understand the why. Randomness drains our confidence and keeps us stuck in the past. Alignment and enclothed cognition reinforce our future identity and boost our focus. Now we need to get into the how.
Yes, the practical application.
Exactly. We can't leave everyone hanging on the theory. The framework we are exploring today lays out 4 specific pillars, 4 practical steps to actually build this vision-driven wardrobe.
Let's walk through them because this is where all that psychology becomes immediately actionable for you listening.
Right. So step 1 is define your identity. And I love that this step comes with a strict caveat. It asks, who are you becoming? Not socially, personally. It suggests looking at character traits.
Character traits, yes.
Are you becoming disciplined, Creative, hyper-focused, minimal, bold. It's about defining your personal energy first. You aren't picking a fashion genre like vintage or streetwear. You are picking a foundational character trait. But how does someone actually figure that out?
Well, you start by looking at the friction points in your current life and the goals you've set for, say, the next 5 years.
Okay.
If you are moving into a phase of life where you need extreme focus and execution, like maybe you are launching a business or writing a book, your personal energy needs to be disciplined and streamlined.
That makes sense.
Yeah. A chaotic wardrobe with 50 different conflicting patterns and uncomfortable fabrics, it doesn't support that energy. It just introduces decision fatigue. Conversely, if your future self requires you to be an out-of-the-box thinker, maybe a bold creative director, then a wardrobe of purely muted, cautious, invisible colors might be psychologically holding you back from taking risks. You have to define the internal energy before you ever buy an external garment.
Which leads right into step 2, which is remove what no longer represents you. We're told that if certain clothes reflect insecurity, confusion, inconsistency, or an old version of yourself, well, they have to go.
They do.
But I struggle with this step a bit. So what does this actually look like in practice? Throwing out perfectly good clothes just because they feel a bit off or represent an older version of myself seems, I don't know, wasteful or extreme. Isn't this just a dressed-up version of spring cleaning?
No, it goes way beyond decluttering for the sake of extra hanger space.
Right.
There's a profound concept we're pulling from today's analysis. Growth requires elimination, too.
Growth requires elimination.
Yes. We are so conditioned to think of personal growth as purely additive. We think we need to add new habits, add new skills, read more books, make more connections. But growth is just as much about pruning. It's about taking the shears to the things that no longer serve the vision.
That makes me think about a very specific hypothetical scenario. Think about the listener who keeps that, faded, ill-fitting suit they wore to a series of failed job interviews 5 years ago.
Oh, that's a great example.
Right. They never wear it anymore. But every single morning, when they push it aside on the rack to grab something else, it triggers this tiny subconscious reminder of rejection. It's an artifact from a time when they felt incredibly insecure.
That is the exact mechanism at play. That physical object is emitting a psychological microsignal.
Yeah.
If you hold on to the physical artifacts of your past insecurities or your past confusion, you are keeping a tether to that old identity.
Wow.
The argument here is that keeping things that don't represent your vision is what's actually extreme. By leaving that suit in your closet, you are actively choosing to preserve confusion and past failures in your daily environment. You have to eliminate the noise to hear the signal.
Growth requires elimination too. I really need to write that down. That is incredibly profound. And so once you have defined that identity and ruthlessly eliminated the noise, you move to step 3, which is create consistency.
Yes, consistent.
The framework advises developing a specific color palette, finding reliable silhouettes, and leaning into pieces that reflect your chosen mindset. Why is consistency so crucial here? If I'm a multifaceted person, why can't I be bold and colorful one day and ultra-minimalist the next?
Because of the cognitive load. Think about the energy it takes to wake up every day and try to invent a new persona. If you are constantly shape-shifting, you aren't building a recognizable identity for yourself.
You're just improvising.
Right. You are forcing your brain to figure out, who am I today, from scratch, every single morning. That creates massive decision fatigue. But when you create consistency, say a specific tailored silhouette that you know makes you feel powerful in a color palette that suits you, you bypass that cognitive friction entirely. You look in the mirror and the brain instantly recognizes the pattern. It says, there we are, focused, disciplined, ready.
You are essentially building a recognizable brand for your own subconscious.
Precisely that. Consistency creates recognition, and recognition strengthens identity. By narrowing your choices to things that perfectly align with your vision, you solidify that daily signal we talked about earlier.
Which makes step 4 much easier to understand and honestly, much easier on the wallet.
Very true.
Step 4 is prioritize quality over noise. The observation here is that vision-driven people stop buying randomly. They become fiercely intentional. It's not about having an overflowing walk-in closet. It's about having better alignment with the few things you actually own.
This is the ultimate shift in behavior that happens when you adopt this mindset. Most people, when they shop, are entirely externally motivated. They ask the trend-chasing question, right? What's popular right now? Or what is everyone else wearing? But when you follow these 4 steps, you shift entirely away from external validation. You start asking a timeless internal question: what represents me?
What represents me? It changes the entire relationship you have with your environment and your consumption. Because you stop chasing validation. You aren't a victim to whatever the fashion industry decides is the flavor of the month, frantically trying to keep up.
Exactly.
You are anchored in your own vision. If a trend doesn't serve the future version of you, you just ignore it.
And when your style is built around your personal identity and your long-term vision, it naturally becomes timeless. Because your core vision and character traits don't change every season the way retail trends do. You step off the treadmill entirely.
You know, reading through all of this, pulling these threads together, the biggest realization for me is that this conversation was never really about clothes. The clothes are just the vehicle. The fabric is just the medium.
They are just the most visible layer of a much deeper operating system.
What we are really talking about is standards. It's about self-respect. It's about becoming fiercely intentional with every single part of your life. Because when you have a clear vision for where you want to go, everything around you should align with it. Your habits, your mindset, the circle of people you spend time with, the media you consume, your physical environment. And yes, the literal fabric you put on your body to face the world.
This raises an important question to leave the listener with. The next time you get dressed, do not look in the mirror and ask, does this look good? That is the old superficial way of thinking. That is the comfort-driven way of thinking.
Right.
Instead, use the psychological filter we've been discussing today. Ask yourself, does this represent the person I'm becoming?
Does this represent the person I'm becoming? It's a brilliant filter. It instantly cuts out the noise, the excuses, the randomness. Because as we said at the top, this isn't fashion. It is identity in visible form. And your wardrobe should be a daily, tactile reminder of the future you are building. Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with. I want you to imagine a specific scenario. Imagine a stranger walked into your home right now. They don't know your name. They don't know your job. They know absolutely nothing about your history or your struggles. And they just opened your closet and looked inside. Based purely on what is hanging there, what kind of future would they assume you are building? Are you leaving clues for a future leader, a visionary, a focused professional? Or are you just preserving a ghost of your past? Something to think about the next time you reach for a hanger. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep aligning your life with your vision. We'll catch you next time.